This is Dave Palumbo with RxMuscle.com. I'm here at the 2011 IFBB Olympia weekend. I am here with Ruth Silverman from Ironman Magazine and Chris, the technician, Aceto, and we are going to do the women's wrap-up here, specifically women bodybuilding, fitness, and bikini. Ruth, let's start it right off. Iris Kyle, 7-time Miss Olympia. Was she deserved tonight?
I think in the end she knocked him off, yeah. You want to know why?
I want to know why.
Because this morning she was not quite as crisp. We were all sitting there in the press pit remarking on it. And I think that tonight she brought a little sharper, but also Yaksani leaned out so much, which was a big wow factor for the judges. But when they stood there and they did that little lat spread, you know, Iris just overpowered her. And I think in a lot of times Iris beat her in the back poses too.
Was this the most vulnerable Iris Kyle's been in recent memory to you?
Oh yeah, I think she was very vulnerable. I don't think she dominated the show by any means. I agree with Ruth that Yaksani, she leaned down. It's almost like she went a little bit too far. I think she just stopped. She was a little on the flat side, and had she had a little bit more fullness, then I think tables could have been turned.
Iris Kyle was a 6-time Miss Olympia going to this. That had to count for something. It had to give her a little edge. I believed if she wasn't the Miss Olympia and Yaksani had been Miss Olympia, I think that Yaksani would have walked away with title tonight.
I think the answer to that is look at their waists. Iris has just got a smaller waist. Yaksani,
does she though?
Yeah, she does. I think that Yaksani, even though she's large and she's majestic, doesn't have that nip-in little waist. Iris is, and I think that counted. Shape counts.
I think the Yaksani Oroquins, I guess the thing that hurt her was that her legs are very straight up and down, Chris. She doesn't have that sweep that Iris has. When she puts her leg out to the side, you just see crazy detail that you don't necessarily see from Yaksani because she's got a little bit of straightness to that quad.
Yeah, at the end of the day, from the front, there's some parts of the prejudging during the front where Iris puts it away. It's her structure, which is a little, which is unique. She's got the sweep to the thigh, which kind of leaves the other girls a little bit vulnerable. And she's still got the cap delts with the small waist. So even though she's not at her best, and she was very vulnerable here, I thought. And from behind, I didn't think she was hard from behind, really.
I thought her glutes, I've seen her glutes. We're so used to seeing that Lonnie Coleman-esque looking physique up here, and she didn't have that. And I think maybe that's why we're being a little bit more discerning about her. But I guess you have to say, when all is said and done, she's still the best bodybuilder on stage.
I think that's how the judges saw it, and that's how pretty much the experts like Ruth saw it.
What does Yaksani do now? I mean, she feels like obviously she should have beat her last year. She thinks she should have beat her this year. People are telling her that. Does Yaksani come in a little bigger, maybe?
Can Yaksani come in a little fuller and still be hard? That's her dilemma, right?
Right.
And I don't know the answer to that. Yaksani did win at the Arnold a couple years ago when Iris faltered. I mean, clearly she's number 2. This is her 13th Miss Olympia. I saw her in the first one in Prague in 1998. I mean, she's a great bodybuilder. I don't have an answer to that.
Brigitte Brejovic comes in 3rd place here tonight. I thought it was a very good decision. She arguably has the best symmetry on stage. Not the biggest bodybuilder, but very pretty shape, especially from behind the glute, hamstring, lower back insertions.
Yeah, that's what kept her right. I mean, from the get-go, I think, had I been judging the show, I'd have her 3rd because of her condition, her natural shape. She has great presentation, and she was hard. So if you want to know how to critique, let's say Iris, if Iris had that hardness from behind, then this would be a done deal, like piece of cake.
Without Iris or Yaksani, maybe without Iris here, Brigitte could be Miss Olympia for how many, tens of years, right? Well, maybe 10 years, because she's got the beautiful structure.
Well, I would say that's correct, but what about Elena Popa, also with the structure?
I wanted to bring up let's bring up Elena Popa. We're skipping over Deb Leshevsky, who took 4th
place.
But Elena Popa has an interesting dilemma. She was 3rd at the Arnold.
Right.
I actually thought that she could have been as high as 2nd here tonight, and I don't think anyone would have complained.
That's why I was sort of surprised that Brigitte slipped into that 3rd spot, and you're saying you expected it all day, so different folks looking at the bodies differently.
Well, because if you're not going to go with Elena Popa as 2nd or 3rd, then obviously there's something they didn't like about it. Maybe too blocky, maybe
a little.
Maybe so they're going for shape. So then I'm thinking, okay, Brigitte slips in there, obviously best shape on stage. Where does Deb Leshevsky fit into the mix here? Because she's arguably the hardest girl in the class, and per height, maybe packs the most muscle.
She absolutely outmuscled Iris. She definitely was harder than Iris. I think Debbie is fighting her structure. I don't think there's anything she can do. I think she thinks she can keep putting on size and beat Iris, but it hasn't happened yet. Do you think it's gonna?
Is it a mistake for her to put any more muscle on? I think it probably is.
I think so, but the more I listen to Ruth, she's the female technician. I agree exactly. That was a perfect assessment from Yaksani being long and majestic to